Hi, I'm Dale, award-winning author of the book on chemical safety. And what I'm going to show you now is how to save about 80% of your time compiling, creating COSHH risk assessments and complying with the COSHH regulations. So there are three things that you need to do to comply with the COSHH regulations. And this COSHH solution I'm about to show you now that I recommend is absolutely the best solution in the world that you can use. So those three things you need to do. Number one, you need to create task-based and compliant COSHH risk assessments. Number two, you need to create a safety data sheet library that manages all your safety data sheets and makes them available to your risk assessors and to people on site, and just in case a paramedic has to visit in the event of an incident. And those safety data sheets need to be kept up to date. It's a very time-consuming task. I'm going to show you how that can be. That task can simply be removed. Also, then you need to train your operator how to carry out that task safely by using those two pieces of documentation, i.e. your risk assessment and your safety data sheet. So very quickly now, I'm going to show you. The reason that you can see me is because I'm going to record myself as I'm creating a risk assessment, so you can see in real time how quickly you can create a compliant task-based risk assessment using this solution, and you can compare that to what you currently do. So let's get started now. So the first thing I'm doing is going to log into this solution, and under assessments I'm going to go to create and create a COSHH assessment. Now in this example I'm going to keep it quite simple, and I'm cleaning the toilet with toilet lime scale remover. There are over 100,000 safety data sheets in this system, so I'm keeping it as specific as I can do. There it is, Domestos Professional Toilet Limescale Remover. I'm going to select that substance from this library of safety data sheet that's kept up to date. So that saves the onerous task of contacting the manufacturer, getting the safety data sheet, or having to keep it up to date thereafter. That's all done for you in this solution. So I'm going to be pouring this solution into toilet. The job's done daily and using approximately 100 ml for about 10 minutes. What this solution then does is it is going to auto-populate the task with the safety information that's required that it finds on the safety data sheet. So that means that you don't have to translate information from a safety data sheet into a risk assessment. It's going to be done on your behalf. It saves a lot of time. I'm going to choose the latest regulation. Sometimes the safety data sheets have both available, so they're both available for you. So I'm going to choose the GHS data. Now that very quickly has just saved 80%, if not more, of the time it would take to create a risk assessment. On the right hand side I can see a risk assessment preview, and in that risk assessment preview I can click on it and see the data that the system's automatically put in on my behalf. And there we can see they are, and I can jump to different parts of the risk assessment. So very quickly I'm just going to start off. There's a 9-step process towards completing a compliant COSHH risk assessment. So I'm going to be cleaning the toilets with limescale remover. This is part of my washroom maintenance process. I can skip all the rest, it's pretty basic stuff. Employees, people affected, visitors and service users. You can see it's automatically identified hazards and PPE, so there's danger of risk to getting this substance in the eye, skin contact, and it's corrosive. So it's also telling me that I may want to consider eye protection and gloves. So I'm just going to go on to the next bit, my task details. Now I have a professional who is cleaning the toilet. Using limescale remover. I don't need to be any more detailed than that. You can explain the whole process if you like. There is items for things you can consider, and the HSC's 5 steps to risk assessment. This is fairly self-explanatory. The cleaner's professionally trained. So here's the substance. I can add multiple substances if they're using multiple substances in combination, but for this example, I'm just going to have a quick look at the safety data sheet. Just double check it's definitely the one that I want. I can see it is. I can see that it's corrosive. So again, all this information has been automatically taken from the safety data sheet for me and put on there. If I go to expand details, I can see there's the hazard and precautionary statements. It's pulled all this information off for spillage. I'm going to replace that with dispose of spillage by dilution or use spillage kit. Nice and simple. And then I can move on to my next section. If I wanted to, I can actually edit the hazard symbols that are there. So I'll take the warning sign off if I want, or I could say that it's a health hazard if I want to just give a bit of extra warning to the person that's carrying out the task. Then move on to task hazard and controls. Now what it's actually done is it's put in that it's corrosive, so you can see maybe corrosive to metals, but it's also put in causes skin irritation. So what I'm going to do, I'm just going to remove the one that's corrosive. Now these are the hazards involved in the task and carrying out the task. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to say that corrosive substance, hazardous in contact with skin. I'm going to tell it to wear rubber, so it's suggested wearing gloves, so I'm going to tell the operator what type of gloves, rubber gloves. I'm then going to also add in that I want them to keep it locked away because it is dangerous, so keep locked in cleaner's cabinet. Emergency control, so if something does go wrong and get it on the skin, what do I do? Well, immediately contact a poison centre or doctor or physician. I'm okay with that. I can change the text if I like, but I'm going to go and say that I want them, if they spill it, to make sure the hands are washed. So if they get it on the skin. Wash your hands and skin affected. Okay, now before I put these controls in place, there is a lot of risk. It's likely that they're going to get it on the skin, and the potential damage is moderate, so I can choose my rating, my risk rating. It's important to put these on a risk assessment. I'm not going to go into all the details now because this is just showing you the solution and how fast I can do the job. With all these controls in place, it's unlikely that something's going to happen, and if they do, they're going to know to clean and wash their hands, so there's a minimum chance of serious damage. It'll be minor damage, sorry. So it's low risk. So I've got it from a 12 to a 4 on my 25 score scale. So I'll close that one now. That's that covered. The next one is risk of causing serious eye damage. I'm okay with the hazard it's put in place. I'm going to wear safety goggles. Actually, the glasses that they're going to be wearing, not goggles. And what I'm also going to put in there is mandatory. Take care for splashing when pouring. So you can really put anything you like in there. These controls, you can search on them. So if they do get it in the eye, I'm going to make sure they use an eye wash. So if I type in eye, you'll see it comes back with various protective symbols, and there's one for emergency response. So I've got eye wash station. I'm going to put in there use eye wash station. Okay, and now I'm going to move on. Now what you can actually do is you can add other hazards if you so wish. So another hazard I could say, well, if they do spill on the floor and they need to mop it up, potentially there's a slippery surface. So that's not a chemical related hazard, but it is potentially a hazard of the task. And if I want to go in there then, slippery surface, I can then go and say, well, put up a wet floor sign, or there is, I believe, cleaning symbol. And so I can add in put up wet floor sign when cleaning. And no, thank you. And any emergency controls if something does go wrong. Well, if someone falls over, for example, because they slipped, they didn't put up the floor sign, if something went wrong in the process, we can say, okay, seek medical attention, first aid. Just as a general coverall. Save and move next. General controls I can put in place. Well, yes, I'm going to say I want at all times to ensure that safety footwear, protective gloves, protective clothing is worn, and to ensure that no one is eating or drinking. Any emergency controls in place? No, I'm fine with that. I don't need them. So then next, health surveillance. If you do have health surveillance in your company, I put in 6 monthly checkups with occupational health. And you've got the ability to create actions such as sending out training records via email, which will send this document, this risk assessment, to somebody and track that they've opened it and viewed it and signed it off. You can upload linked documents, you can manage actions and all sorts of other things. I'm not going to get into detail right now. I'm going to show you how you can review and publish this risk assessment now I've completed it. Now there's an assessment checklist, so it's saying, okay, you've missed out a risk rating. That's on one of my hazards, so I'm going to go click on that link. It'll take me straight back there. I can see, well, they're okay, they're in there, but okay, I haven't done it for my risk of contacting the eye. So I'm going to say, well, without the controls in place, it's possible it's going to happen, but it would be a major problem if we got this substance in the eye. With the safety goggles on, etc., and the fact that they know to use an eye wash station, it's very unlikely to happen, and the chance of something happening is moderate. Risk to health if something does go wrong. Then slippery floors, okay, a set rating. It's possible someone's going to slip, and if they do, the damage would be moderate. With wet floor signs in place and being vigilant to potentially operate outside of normal working hours when cleaning, it's unlikely to happen, but it's still moderate. So we've still reduced the risk, but we still know it is a risk. So now I've completed that. I can go back to my review and publish. Now we've got a green light. I can confirm and continue. So I'm going to publish this risk assessment and say, reason for publishing is train operator or cleaner. I want the SDS, the safety data sheets, to be attached to this risk assessment, and I want a sign-off sheet so that they can confirm they've read it, and I'm going to publish that. So that's it. I've created a compliant, task-based COSHH risk assessment very, very quickly, and it's got wonderful symbolisation on there. GHS compliant symbolisation, easy to recognise safety signs, and very easily up in the top right corner you can see the summary of information. We've removed this from a 12 to a 6. It's still hazardous, but we've halved the risk, if you will. Very simplistic way of looking at it. It's got the substance information there with the hazard symbols, the regulatory statements, how we're using the product, the task-related hazards, corrosive substance, hazardous in contact with skin, causes serious eye damage. I keep going down here, slippery surface, the general controls that must be in place, health surveillance, and then once this is printed off, in case there is an incident on site or is something else happens, for example, children start using the washing facilities and they're in the area, then maybe we want to identify them as a potential hazard that could be to the safety of the workplace, and we can add them in using pen and paper and then review the risk assessment later. So it doesn't stop the process going through, and then we can confirm by signing off the documentation at the end. Then we have the safety data sheet for this particular substance. And remember, this product, this solution allows you to have multiple substances on one risk assessment, depending on the complexity of the task that you're doing. So that's it. That's very quickly how to create a compliant risk assessment. Hope that's been really useful to you. If you'd like to find out more information about this, then please use the form on the page. Thank you very much for your time. Have a great day.